quiet street in Stokenham has changed little over the past 100 years. The occasional change of window style and different plant growth are the only obvious differences. However, quiet though it may be, Stokenham has had its share of scandal. In 1588, when the Spanish Armada was defeated, much wreckage was washed up at Slapton Sands in the parish of Stokenham. The lord of the manor complained bitterly to Queen Elizabeth that rascals from Stokenham were carrying away loot from the wreckage, as much as £100 of coins and jewellery at a time. He wanted to claim his share, but didn't have any luck. In 1928, the parish register was apparently tampered with in an attempt to claim a vast fortune. William Adrian Allery tried to lay claim to the £60 million Angel estate in London by way of a baptismal record of 1673, which apparently gave him the necessary link. Unfortunately for his claim, both the vicar and churchwardens were adamant that the entry had not been in the parish records when last checked in 1925. And the vicar went on to say that the entry appeared to have been made with old-style ink but a steel nib, not the quill which would have been used. Which all goes to show that people living in a sleepy little village in deepest South Devon were not as sleepy as had been hoped. The claim appears to have fizzled out without reaching the stage of going to court. Little seems to have changed in this part of Stokenham in the past 100 years. As part of the Widdicombe estate, the Tradesman's Arms was sold in 1921 to Mr. Veal of Dartmouth for the sum of £500, but continued to be managed by Charles Mitchelmore, who is listed as landlord in 1914 and was still there in 1940. The earliest reference to the Tradesman's Arms is in 1866, although a now unknown pub called the New Inn was listed in Stokenham in 1850, but apparently no longer existed by 1866. The parish of Stokenham, like much of the South Hams, was built in good local stone and slate, with local reeds, often from Slapton Lee, as thatch. Thatching reeds are now imported from Eastern Europe and are slightly different from the homegrown variety. Stokenham Church was packed to capacity on the 12th of November 1943, when the residents of the parish were told they had to leave the area within 6 weeks to enable the American Army to use it for training. Not that this was stated at the time for obvious reasons, but Slapton Sands bore a remarkable resemblance to the beaches the Americans would attack on D-Day. It rained almost non-stop, and the farmers were dismayed to have to leave many crops in the ground to rot. Some were unable to find alternative farms and were forced to sell their stock at fairly low prices. The residents were allowed back in late 1944 as the area was gradually declared safe. The village shop and post office in Chillington has been at this site for many years. In the 19th and early 20th century, however, there was not enough traffic to warrant the need for a pavement, and villagers could cheerfully meet for a chat in the middle of the road, knowing they would have plenty of time to move out of the way of any traffic. In the earlier photograph, from the early 20th century, the house nearest the photographer, next to the grocer's shop, had been lived in for several generations by the Brooking family. Hannah Brooking and her daughter Eileen are in the doorway. The original thatched roof, which had the advantage of being warm in winter and cool in summer, was replaced by tiles by the time of the Second World War. The Brooking family had an orchard with chickens on the opposite side of the road, which is now a close of bungalows built by Tom Brooking, the son of Hannah and Harry Brooking. Like everyone in the area, the Brookings had to leave their home in December 1943 for the American Army to train for the D-Day landings. The families began to return after the land had been cleared of munitions and some of the damage caused during the training had been put right. The village of Chillington has a surprisingly important past. In 1218, the Lord of Stokenham decided to maximise his income by upgrading its status from a mere village. He obtained a royal licence for a weekly market and then declared Chillington a borough, all in an attempt to increase revenue and therefore his income through market trading. Unfortunately for his plans, Chillington failed to make an impact as a market and relapsed to its original village status. However, for legal purposes it was still referred to as a borough as late as the 17th century. Several changes are apparent in the 100 years between these photographs. The shops on the right-hand side are now houses, and a bay window has been added to the house on the left. Behind it, the building has been extended upwards. Tony Bristow, who ran the pottery studio here, was kept busy in 1977 making the Stokenham parish mugs for the Queen's Silver Jubilee. He made a total of 400 mugs, 250 for the children of the parish and the rest for sale.